You're listening to Let's Be Real.
Thank you for joining my podcast, Let's Be Real. Today, I don't know. It's a good show, but I think it might hit some nerves only because it was something I wasn't even aware of. And when I became aware of it, again, it was kind of like, whoa, that you're intrigued. Let's jump in and keep it real. So today, we're going to talk about a parent's love. Is it guaranteed? Put me in the comments and let me know what you think about that. And I know most of the time, especially when we're talking about, parents and females, we go to the dad. But for this segment, we're going to focus on mom. You would be surprised how many daughters are longing for that special relationship with their mothers. That loving, that touchy-feely, that I can go to you and tell you everything under the sun, that no judgment, that I want to pick up the phone whenever something great is happening and know that it's going to be a welcome, receiving, loving person on the other end that I'm talking to. There are many young ladies and young men who have issues today because of their moms. Now, don't get your knickers in a twist, mothers. We know you're doing the best you can. We know that you're working with all that you can and resources that you have to be the best mom you can be. But if we fall short, if there are areas where we lack, we got to keep it real. We got to talk about it. It may hurt your feelings. You may not like it, but it is what it is, and we're keeping it real. Some of us take our cultural issues and then try to raise our generation of kids based on how we were raised, based on our culture. Case in point. If you're from the islands, you know it's hard. You know there are no emotions. Well, I'm not going to say no, but there are very minimal emotions. It's do what I tell you, when I tell you, be happy that you have a roof over your head. I give you food. Why are you complaining? I give you all this. You have the house. You have the food. I didn't have anything. I had to walk up the hill. Yeah, you get all that. You get the bad accent that I just gave you. And all that under the sun because that's what they dealt with. Your grandparents was like, kids, I had you. We have this home. You help me clean it, whether it's the proper whatever. You want to help keep it clean. You better learn how to cook early because you're going to have to cook for your siblings. I'm going to work. Your dad going to work. We have these jobs. We got to provide for you. And you knew they loved you because they went out and made sure you were careful. You may not have had the latest and the greatest, but you had what you needed. You know that they were doing their best. You didn't think about the fact that, oh, well, you know what? I haven't been hugged today. You didn't think of the fact, you know what? They left the house and they didn't say, I love you. And hell, you knew they weren't coming to a game because they were working. So they couldn't make every game. But fast forward, the kids today, I don't know, something in the breast milk or the formula or the water, I don't know. But they need the I love yous, they need the hugs, they need the you're doing everything right. And even if they're doing something wrong, please don't yell at me. Like, they're super sensitive. But if you have those cultural backgrounds, I mean, certain Dominican, certain Latino communities, heck, if you're from the South, you're a black person. If you don't get your butt outside and play, you ain't sit up in this house. What? A game? So there was a generation that knew they were loved, but they didn't necessarily see it or feel it. They just knew because of what their parents did and provided for them. There's a generation now that needs so much more to know that their parents love them. And they want them at every game. They don't understand, well, I'm working, or well, I may be tired, or well, whatever the case may be, they just want you there. They want the sun to rise and set on them. Case in point, You know what? I always bring it back to me because I can tell you because I've lived it. My son, when he calls me, and if I don't answer, there's an issue. He's blowing up my phone back to back. And when I finally answer, well, where were you? Well, what's going on? Well, what's the matter? I was busy. I was working. Oh, heck, I was sleeping. But when I call you, you're supposed to answer. Okay, but I called you yesterday and you didn't answer me. And it's 24 hours later and I'm still waiting for your call. Oh, but you're the mom. Doesn't make sense to me. I know it doesn't make sense to you. But they think that as a mother, you're supposed to be able to do and be and give them whatever they want, when they want it, how they want it. They don't necessarily believe they're supposed to reciprocate in the same manner. For another podcast, it'll be coming soon. But for this one, we've tackled the cultural part, right? Not going to beat a dead horse. We know that there's just certain backgrounds and certain cultures that just don't do it, and these kids need it. So if I'm a parent who didn't get it, in my mind, I am raised to believe you know I love you because I've given you this house. I've given you a room. You now have more games than I ever had. You have this stuff I've provided. But you have an issue because you are not getting what you need based on your makeup. So now it's an issue because now we're arguing because you have this funky attitude because I'm not doing and being who you think I should be. So now I think you're ungrateful. Is a parent's love guaranteed? The question should be, is a parent's love the way you need them to love you guaranteed? Hit me up and you tell me what you think the answer to that is based on your situation. At the end, I'll give you my answer. Because then you look at the type of love. So we already know cultural. Then you have the type. You have the type of love, I'm just going to show you things, right? I didn't get it. So I may not have felt like my parents, truly could love me the way I wanted to be loved because we struggled. I know they love me, but I didn't get. So the way I'm going to tell my kids and show my kids I love them, I'm going to give them the world. You know what happens often? I give stuff. I don't give them character. I don't give them survival skills. I don't give them the essential makeup they need to go out here in this world and stand flat-footed and know that they're going to be okay without me. Because I just know I was giving them more than I ever had. So I'm the giver of love, right? I'm showing you by giving you. Then there are some that I didn't get all the touchy-feely, or some did. So I'm going to love my kids. They're never going to leave the house without me knowing that I love them, and I'm going to do everything for them, and I'm going to be at that every game, and I'm just going to be super duper everything mom. And that's great. And kids need to know they're loved in all types of love languages. But sometimes we go too far this way, but too far the other way. And what happens is I've showered them with so much attention. And some kids be like, okay, you're doing too much. What the what? We have to understand that you have to listen to your kids. We have to know that just because we feel like I have to overcompensate, whether the dad is there or not, or whether I didn't have it, sometimes you overcompensate. The kid is not really even appreciating because now they feel smothered. So it's a balancing act, ladies. But in the types, if you're going to shower them with attention and with love, please make sure you allow them to understand what lack of attention does, with not getting the affirmations that you are so freely and readily giving them. Again, nothing wrong with that. But some of those same kids will become adults who can't handle disappointment, who can't handle rejection, who can't handle their significant other not wanting to be a part of them 24/7, who can't handle somebody not saying, I love you, and texting you and calling you. And if you have not connected with that same type of person, you're not preparing your child to be able to adjust and balance in their emotions. And knowing that someone is not going to give you that I love you every time you want it doesn't mean you're not going to get it. But you may not get it every time you want it. And you got to be okay with that. Then there is mothers, you're doing the best you can. Young people, if you're listening to this, you have to give your moms a break just a little. Because mom, I'm gonna come back at you. You had these kids, right? Most of us, I want a kid, because I want something to love. Yeah, we did that. We ordered some stuff today, y'all. I want a kid because I wanted something to love. Oh, I don't want to lose him. I'm gonna get pregnant to keep him. How did that work out for you? Anywho, you're married. Let's have a kid. This is great. You know what? Um, we didn't have all these things. We struggled. We're gonna give our kids the world. We're gonna do all this for them. The basic things that kids need in all reality, they need you to provide for them. They need to know you love them. They need you to support them. And most of all, they need you to be truthful and honest with them. You let them know when they're wrong, and you praise them when they're right. You give them, but they need to work for something. There's always a balance. There's a teaching aspect to parenting. And I gotta go here. If you are trying to use your kid as a pawn for that man that left or that man that's not being who you need him to be, even in the house, you're detrimental to the mental health and the future adult relationships that young person will have. And then you're going to look at that young person and say, well, what the heck is wrong with my child? Why are they acting like this? Why are they doing this? Why are they gay today and straight tomorrow? Why are they out being in a gang and then they want to be a nerd? You're not understanding the different phases and how the child is flipping from day to day. Sometimes we gotta look at ourselves. We gotta look at, why do we have these kids? What are we doing with these kids? And are these kids benefiting emotionally, physically, financially to some aspect? Is a parent's love guaranteed? It should be. It's the type of love that's not guaranteed. Giving you my take on it. Again, we're going to go into this in future podcasts, and we're going to tackle the different aspects of it, because I mentioned several during this podcast. But I need you to know, women, we can't be so... Goes back to when I did on truth. We can't be so not wanting to hear our truth that we can't accept the fact that sometimes we wanted that man more than we wanted the stability of our children's well-being. So I put more into chasing that man, trying to give him what he wants, how he wanted. I flipped it up, switched it, rubbed it down, and my kids going haywire. My kids' mental stability is off the roof because I didn't put all that energy into making sure they were straight. And they saw me chasing after some man, altering my character and who I am, trying to keep that man happy. Or it might have been some physical, that may have been some verbal abuse. Whatever it was that may not have been healthy, those kids saw all of that. We really have to be careful. Once you decide you're going to have it, then there's a responsibility on you to raise them to the best of your ability, but just that, the best of your ability. You can't be trying to chase somebody else and then expect them to just be okay. And when I have time, you should know. You should know. What terrible should they know? You should know what I expect of you. You should have better character than that. You should know how to be a successful, full-fledged, working, stable-minded adult. How? What did they see? What did you give them? What did you set them up for? And I can tell you, yes, Tara, here she go again. And I use my son because he was my greatest lesson. Lord knows I learned a lot after being a mom through him. And my daughter as well. But when it came to finances, in regards to the household, not necessarily directed towards the kids, but just in general, you know how you just talk about stuff. Oh, honey, we gotta pay this, or oh, we gotta do this. I didn't make it intentional to tell him, okay, listen, here's how you do your bank account. Here's how you open up a checking account. You need to save this. This is, budgeting. I just talked about it in generality and expected, well, you were in the house with me. You should have grown up and you should know it. And when he threw it back in my face, when he did learn the details, Mom, why didn't you tell me this? Right away with the defense. Why didn't you know? It went on in the house. You saw me doing this and you saw me doing that. And he said, but you didn't tell me. You didn't talk to me. I had to eat that, ladies. I had to own that, you know what, there were things that I did in the house and figured they should catch on. And, I kind of threw it out there and somehow they were supposed to know I was throwing it and run and catch it. But I wasn't intentional with teaching them certain things. Thank God they learned. But we have to be intentional with our kids, with how we show our love, with how we teach them, with what we show them in our actions with our significant others and with them. So again, a parent's love should be guaranteed. But the type of love that you give is not guaranteed. Talk to your children. See what they need. And then if it's not something that's comfortable for you, then again, seek help. Or just have the conversation. And over time, it will get better. Just be honest with them and tell them that you need a little time. Because it's not comfortable for you. It's not what you're used to. It's not what you grew up with or around. But you want them to have what they need. And it'll be all good. Thank you for tuning into this podcast. I'm interested in hearing your comments. Until next time, keep it real.